Welcome back to another engineering economics video. In this video, we are looking at profitability index. So earlier in this chapter, we talked about benefit cost ratio, and profitability index is very closely related to benefit cost ratio. Here we have the formula for profitability index, and it has a lot of this. Well, it has all the same variables as benefit cost ratio, but in a slightly different arrangement. So in a benefit cost ratio formula, let me get my pen here to draw this. The benefit cost ratio for a given interest rate is equal to the benefit divided by the total cost. And the total cost is the initial investment plus the annual expense of operating the project. So all we've done basically is we've moved the C prime, the annual operating expense, to the top part of the ratio, and we're subtracting it from the benefit. So this is essentially the net benefit compared to the initial investment. And so, yeah, I use the term, this is basically measuring the bang for the buck. How much benefit can we get compared to the initial investment? And so the profitability index is similar to benefit cost ratio in that if it's greater than 1, then that's a good thing. That means it's a project that we would want to potentially consider. So let's look at an example here where we have a project. It's a 5-year project. We're going to have to invest for a full year before we get to the point where the project begins generating benefits for us. And so we have a cost of 10 and 20 in the first 2 years. And then after that, the annual operating costs are relatively small compared to that initial investment, but they do vary over time. We've got 5, 5, 7, and 7, so it looks like the costs are going to gradually increase over time. And then the benefits are going to diminish somewhat. Initially, we get a large benefit of 35, and then that goes down to 30, 20, and 10. So all we're looking at here is the net amount, adding these two things together, or in this case, since all of these variables here are positive, we are taking our positive benefit and subtracting the cost. So 0 minus 10, negative 10, 0 minus 20, negative 20, 35 minus 5 is 30, and so on. So here we have a screen capture of a spreadsheet I had made earlier, calculating the profitability index. So let me bring up Excel and show you what's going on here. So this is the information that was presented in the problem statement. We have our benefits and our costs. And so the net cash flow in any given year is going to be equal to the benefits minus the costs. Or if we had made these values in this column negative, then the formula here would just be benefits plus cost. But we can see that we have a negative $10 net cash flow in the first year, negative 20 in the second, and then we begin to see positive cash flow. So in order to calculate the profitability index of this project, we need to find, let me back up the slideshow here a second. We need to find the benefits, we need to find the annual costs, and then we need to find the investment. We need to find these three things separately. And we need to find the present value of all of them, because the benefits and the costs and the investment might be occurring at different times. And we can't compare or use in the same formula values that are occurring in different years. We always need to make sure that we are using things that are occurring at the same time. So we need to find the present value of these three things individually. So because this project took 2 rows, it took both year 0 and 1 to complete the investment period, I'm going to treat these 2 rows separately. Okay, so I'm going to just take all of these values from here. I'm going to cut and paste them down here. Just put a few rows between these two so that I can calculate the present value of, let's see, what was the rate? Problem statement said the rate was 7%. So I'm going to calculate the present value at a 7% rate. The n per is just the value from the n column. And the future value is equal to the net cash flow. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm calculating the present value of the investment amounts, the I. And so I found the initial or present value of the $10 amount from year 0 is just 10, because that is occurring at the beginning of the project. We didn't have to discount it at all. This is a present value already. But the $20 value here is not a present value. That is 1 year into the future. So I have to discount it using the present value function to get it back to what that would be worth today in the present. So it turns out to only be $18.69. And then I will just add these 2 things together. Okay, so this is the present value of the investment. Okay, and yeah, I suppose I could have made these negative, but I'm not really concerned about plus or minus. I'm going to be using this in a ratio. So just remember that this is an investment. This is a cost. Should I? Yeah, I'll go ahead. Fine. I'll make this negative just to make sure that I'm clear that this is a cost. $28.69 is the present value of the investment cost. It's an outgoing expense. Okay, now if we look at after the investment period, we're into the period of time where the project is actually operating and we are generating benefits. Okay, so I can create a column here for the present value of the benefits, and I can create a separate column here for the present value of the expenses. Actually, I don't really need to do that, do I? Because let's go back and look at that formula again. So the profitability index is calculated by taking the present value of the benefits minus the present value of the cost. So we could find just the present value of the benefit and subtract from it the present value of the cost. But that would be the same thing as finding the present value of the benefit minus the cost. And that's basically what I already have calculated. In my spreadsheet here, this net column, this is the benefit minus cost. Okay, so I don't necessarily need to find these 2 present values separately. I've already combined them into one column, and all I need to do is find the present value of benefits minus cost. I'll put the little apostrophe after it to be consistent with what the book uses. Okay, so this is going to be equal to the present value of, again, using a 7% rate. Number of periods is the n value, and the future value is here. And I don't want that to change signs. My net cash flow in year 2, I'm receiving $35 in benefits with only $5 in cost. So that's a positive 30. So this is a positive 26.2. present value of the net cash flow from year 2. Okay, and so I've treated this separately. The investment period and the operating period, I'm looking at them separately. And I can sum up the total present value of benefits minus cost. Okay, and so in order to find the profitability index, PI, profitability index, using a 7% rate is equal to the benefit minus cost on top divided by the present value of the investment on the bottom. And I don't really need that to be negative, but I do need it to be a number rather than a dollar amount. So there we go. 2.04 is the profitability index of this project at a 7% rate. And just like with internal rate of return, well, actually, no, that's not correct. If internal rate of return is greater than the MARR, that makes it acceptable. Benefit cost ratio, that's what I was thinking. Just like with benefit cost ratio, if it's greater than 1, that means it's a good project. And this project has a profitability index greater than 1, so that means it is a good project. It's definitely good. Well over a value of 1 here. Okay, and we are almost done with this chapter. We have one more thing to look at, and that is how to use profitability index in order to compare different projects. We need, just like with benefit cost ratio, we need to do an incremental approach, and I think I'm gonna record that in a separate video. I don't want to run out of time. I don't know if I can get through that example in the less than 3 minutes I have remaining. So we're going to stop here, and we will finish off Chapter 8 in the next video.